There's a lot of notables on there that's only on there for a little while. Christopher Guest.
I was almost going to put him on the list because I don't think he was that good on SNL, but
It's
all he's done since then has been gold.
Well, it's funny. Some of the people that have been like some people are really good in like Robert Downey Jr. was a cast member for 1 year.
Janine Garofalo.
Janine Garofalo, Joan Cusack,
Joan Cusack. That
Damon
one blows my
Wayans,
mind.
he was on there for one.
Mhm.
Even Chris Rock, he was on SNL, but I don't think they used him. I don't think he ever found a niche
You
on
know,
there.
I remember him though. That's when I first got into SNL. I got into SNL right when the switch was about to happen, because that one season they gutted the whole place except for Tim Meadows, and
Yes.
David Spade was still on there doing Weekend Update, or he's like Spade in America. But they
Yeah.
gutted everybody, and that's when they brought in Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan, and that whole
Yeah.
crew. But Chris Rock was one of those that was on like that last end with Chris Farley, which he had like Nat X. I thought was pretty good. I actually was a fan of. I remember Chris Rock being on there, and I thought it
Yeah.
was. I liked his stuff, but he wasn't. Nat X was pretty Chris Rock.
Yeah. Like it wasn't Chris Rock like we know him now.
Yeah.
And Michael McKean, he was a cast member as well on there.
Yes. I'm telling you, I think he's the only person to ever host SNL and then be a cast member
Oh
afterwards.
yeah, that's what you were saying last time.
Yeah.
Speaking of David Spade, have you read David Spade's book? He's got a
No.
couple. I think it's the on the cover of it. He's standing. It's just him on the cover. I think it's a really good book. I would suggest. I read it in like a day. I mean, actually, I read it in a shift at work one time, like 5 hours, and it's really good.
Wow. All right.
And he was talking about how every time, like they would go, right for the show, he was afraid he was going to get fired all the time. And then it kind of chronicles how Eddie Murphy had a big beef with David Spade, and that's one reason Eddie Murphy didn't come onto the show for all those years, was because of David Spade.
Oh, because he made the
Catch a
he
falling
made that
star
joke.
joke.
Yeah, which is such a good
And he
joke.
said it's in the book, but he says, and I'm sure you can find clips on YouTube, but he said he got a call, and I think it was Chris Rock answered the phone, and he was like, "Hey David, you got Eddie Murphy's on the line," and then David was like, "Tell him I'm not here. Tell him I'm not here," and then Eddie Murphy kept calling back until David Spade took the call. So yeah, you should. I'm sure you can find some clips of him talking about it, but can you imagine? You just make a throwaway joke. You're this little guy from Arizona, and then Eddie Murphy, one of the biggest comedians of all time, is calling you because he's mad at you.
That's like that's insane. I David Spade is the biggest smart aleck in all of comedy. He's so funny. Does he in his book does he talk about Chris Farley?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He talks
Because
about.
I remember he did not go to Chris Farley's funeral, so I didn't know how he still.
I think he mentions that, or I've heard it, but he said it was just so tough. It was just so difficult that he just couldn't bring himself to do it.
That's why I
And,
was wondering if he still like even really talks about it that much. I
Adam
follow him on
Sandler was really close
Instagram.
with him too. Like Adam Sandler,
Yeah.
I think it was Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, and David Spade were really tight.
The Gap
And,
Girls.
Yeah, man, they had some fun stuff, and I didn't realize this until maybe a year or so ago. Adam Sandler was fired from SNL.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Oh.
so I had no idea that he was fired. So
Huh.
what's the next category you have there?
Let's go for funniest.
Whew. This could be a tough one, so I'm sure
Okay,
there's going to be some left out.
best and funny, I kind of went back and forth. So I chose funniest as they were the funniest, but like the least recognized, not
Okay.
not as recognized. They weren't like the front man or the front woman, but I think they were the funniest there. And then I did best as the kind of the front man thing.
Well, I have someone that I've got several, but I'll choose. I mean, obviously you've got, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, people like that. But I'll choose someone for this that always made me laugh, which was Chris Kattan. He always made me laugh. And when he was paired with Sherry O'Terry, they
Oh,
both made me real. When they did the cheerleaders, when they did the goth people, uh,
oh, I forgot about them.
those two, and even when Chris Kattan was with Will Ferrell with the Roxbury guys, you know.
Oh,
So
Sherry O'Terry always ended up in the middle of them, and she
yeah,
always got
yeah.
knocked around.
So Chris Kattan and I honestly thought Chris Kattan would be a breakout star. I really did, but it just didn't happen. Um,
He
and it
did
did for
Roxbury and then
Corky Romano,
Romano, and that
and
was it.
he's the bad guy in oh, what's that movie called? Undercover Brother. He's the bad guy in that movie,
Um,
Mr. Feather. It's got I can't remember the lead actor's name, but it's got Denise Richards, Chris Kattan's the bad guy, and I can't recall the main guy. But yeah, that's really the only things that big things that I've seen Chris Kattan do. So I was really disappointed that he didn't really break out, into anything bigger.
I want to say that his dad founded Groundlings in
Okay,
LA. I think it
okay,
was because I think his dad just passed away the last few years, but I'm pretty sure he founded the Groundlings, which is where
right.
a third of all the stars of SNL have come from. But yeah,